And whatever else history may say about me when I'm gone, I hope it will record that I appealed to your best hopes, not your worst fears, to your confidence rather than your doubts. My dream is that you will travel the road ahead with liberty's lamp guiding your steps and opportunity's arm steadying your way. My fondest hope for each one of you, and especially for the young people here, and what this is, my hope is that you will love your country, not for her power or wealth, but for her selflessness and idealism. May each of you have the heart to conceive, the understanding to direct, and the hand to execute works that will make the world a little better for your having been here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and welcome to this month's live from at the Reagan Library. Remember, we do these on the first Wednesday of every month. Now, unfortunately, the Reagan Library is still closed to the public due to the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, we've been closed for 11 months now. But with President Reagan's birthday just around the corner, it's this Saturday, we thought we would still spend this live from video to honor the president. And because we've been having such a great time answering your questions live at the end of each of these videos, we encourage you to go to the comment section below and ask me anything you want on the Reagan Library, Ronald Reagan, the Reagan Foundation, and I will do my best to answer them at the end of this episode. I am standing today in a very special place. Now, even if the Reagan Library was open and you were touring it, this is a place you wouldn't see. This is not on the regular tour. In 1990, when they were building the Reagan Library, they wanted to build a functional office space for President Reagan, another one for Mrs. Reagan, and then a joint area where they could entertain. So I am standing today in President Reagan's actual office in the private quarters of the Reagan Library campus. Now, again, very special location. We normally don't even allow cameras in here, but with his birthday coming up, started feeling nostalgic, we wanted to show it to you. President and Mrs. Reagan were very involved in the decoration of this space, and we'll show you that, and so I'm going to point out a couple of items. The photograph of Mrs. Reagan over my right shoulder was hand-selected by the president because it's one of his favorite photos of his wife. The black leather desk set on the desk was a gift to the president in the 1980s from the ambassador of Morocco, and Mrs. Reagan's office has the exact same set except made out of red leather. The books on the bookshelf were also hand-selected by the president. He's read all of those books. On the top shelf, it includes books by author Louis L'Amour. The second shelf includes books on religion. There's a book on the Bible, on the Torah and the Quran. And on the bottom shelf, there are books from author James Michener. Now, there's probably 100 or so artifacts in this office, and they all have special meaning. But my favorite, and it may seem silly, my favorite is this over here. This is a 1955 edition of the Webster's Dictionary. And this belonged to Ronald Reagan. He had it as governor of California in the 60s and 70s. He took it with him to the White House when he was president of the United States. Following his administration, he brought it back to the office of Ronald Reagan in Century City, or Los Angeles, California, where it remained until his passing. And then it went to the home of Mrs. Reagan in Bel Air, California, where it remained until her passing in 2016. At that point, it was donated to the Reagan Foundation. It came here to the Reagan Library, and we placed it in his office. Now, of course, dictionaries don't have eyes, but I just like to think about all the things this dictionary has seen between 1955 and 2016. I just think it's extraordinary, and I love that it's in here. So that's probably my favorite item in this office. Now, January 20th was about 2 weeks ago or so, and of course it was a historic day. Joe Biden became the 46th president of the United States, and Kamala Harris became our nation's first female vice president. But January 20th, 2021 was very historic for another reason too, because on January 20th, 2021, Ronald Reagan became the 40th president of the United States. So 40 years ago, he became the 40th president. We're calling this 40 at 40. Now, this is a very unprecedented opportunity, a very historic moment to celebrate the life and times of Ronald Reagan and his presidency and all the ideals that he championed: individual liberty, economic opportunity, global democracy, and national pride. Now, it's not just about one day, January 20th. It's a year-long commemoration to honor one of our nation's greatest presidents. So again, 40 at 40. So we encourage you to get involved and to learn more. just go to our website, reaganfoundation.org/40@40, and it's the number 40. It's not spelled out. So reaganfoundation.org/40@40. There you'll learn about the events that we're doing. You'll see remembrances of the president, things that we're unearthing from our archives. And we're adding new content to this website almost every week, so please check back often. Also on our Twitter page, our handle is @RonaldReagan, so twitter.com/RonaldReagan. And every single day for the entire year, we are doing a post with the hashtag 40@40 to share with you what Ronald Reagan was doing 40 years ago that day. So pretty extraordinary. We hope you follow us the whole year and see what we're doing. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that this Saturday is President Reagan's birthday. He would have turned 110 years old, or as he would have joked, it's the 71st anniversary of his 39th birthday. Now, normally, so since his passing, every year, normally, we do an event in conjunction with the United States Marine Corps Camp Pendleton. They come up, we get about 500 to 1,000 guests, and we have a big event. But of course, with coronavirus the way it is right now and restrictions still in place, Ventura County wouldn't allow us to do an event in person, which of course we understand. But we're still doing the event. So we encourage all of you to watch it live. We're live streaming the event right on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Reagan Foundation. And we're doing those keynote remarks, live music from the 1st Marine Division Band, a 3-volley salute, which is a 21-gun salute, and the official laying of the presidential wreath on President Reagan's gravesite. So we really hope you watch and tune in. Again, youtube.com/Reagan Foundation. It will start streaming live at 12:30 p.m. Pacific and 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So before we conclude today's live from, we wanted to show you a handful of items from our Reagan Museum store that we think really help describe Ronald Reagan's legacy and really help describe him as a man. So the first I want to show you is the Ronald Reagan Freedom Blanket. You know, Ronald Reagan believed so strongly in freedom around the world and here at home. He used to say that freedom is a fragile thing, that's never more than one generation away from extinction. We have taken that sentiment, we have hand embroidered it into this blanket as well as his signature. This is proudly made in the USA, 100% cotton, it's machine washable, and it's truly going to become a family heirloom, whether you use it in your office or use it at your home. It's a really special gift for you or a loved one, and we encourage that you check it out. Now, all 4 items that I'm talking to you about today can all be found on our store, so reaganfoundation.org/store. And when you get to the store page, just scroll down a little bit and there's a featured product section. All 4 products I'm speaking about today are on the featured product section. You can also search for them in the search bar. So again, the first one is the Freedom Blanket. The second one I want to share with you today is Ronald Reagan's cufflinks, which he called his lucky cufflinks. Mrs. Reagan purchased them for him as a gift on their anniversary, March 4th, 1952, and he loved them so much he called them his lucky cufflinks. He wore them all the time, and the real, authentic cufflinks are on display in the Reagan Library. Once we reopen, you can come and see them. Although he wore them all the time, one of the times he wore them was in June of 1987 when he went to Berlin and demanded that Gorbachev tear down this wall. So the actual cufflinks are on display in our gallery that talks about that speech. But what our store has done is they've recreated the cufflinks in gold and in sterling silver. But what's so great about them is that they're customizable. When you purchase them, you can choose any month. I didn't even explain them. So what they are is they are a calendar. So because their anniversary was on March 4th, his cufflinks were the month of March with a gem on the 4. So these are customizable for you. So you can choose any month you want stamped on the cufflinks and any day you want the gem to be placed. And of course, since cufflinks are most usually worn by men, we have created this for a woman as well. We have turned it into a necklace, also in sterling silver and gold, also customizable any month you want, any day you want the gem. And again, just like the blanket, go to reaganfoundation.org/store and scroll down to the featured product section, and you can find them there. The third thing I want to talk about is our tie. This was one of Ronald Reagan's most favorite ties. Very simple, 100% silk, red, white, and blue, and silver stripes. We have added Ronald Reagan's signature to it. He wore this tie all the time. Of course, this is a recreation. He wore the real one all the time. And for example, After the 1985 inauguration, he took the official White House photograph, which is this photo, and here he is wearing the tie in that photo. We sell this in our store, which is why it's wrapped, but this tie is a great gift, and again, reaganfoundation.org/store, scroll down to the featured products and you'll find the tie. The last product I wanted to mention today, and I've actually mentioned it in a live from before because it's just so extraordinary. We have many books in our store, of course, but there are 3 specific books in our store. One is An American Life, which is Ronald Reagan's autobiography. One is the Reagan Diaries, which is a printed version of his handwritten presidential diaries. And the third is called An American Hero, which is a book by the Reagan Foundation. And in a select handful of each of these 3 volumes, we have placed a Ronald Reagan signed Reagan Library bookplate. In the end of the 1990s, Ronald Reagan signed a stack of Reagan Library bookplates for our use. We have very few left, and they've been placed in these 3 volumes. And if you're looking for a one-of-a-kind collectible, a truly memorable addition to your home or to your office, just something really special to remember Ronald Reagan and his legacy by, purchasing a signed Ronald Reagan book for your home collection might be the way to do it. So again, very few of these still remain. It's quite an extraordinary gift. You can call our store to inquire, or again, simply go to reaganfoundation.org/store, scroll down to the featured products section, and you'll find more information about these signed books. So thank you so much for joining us today. We always have such a good time bringing these to you, but as promised, it's now time to take your questions. So if you haven't already, please go to the comments section, go ahead and ask some questions. We'll take just a few moments. As always, the blind me that I am, going to slip on my glasses. And let's see if anyone has some questions. Let's go into the comments section. Lots of comments. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hoping one day to make it here. We hope we can open so you can make it here. Let's see. Anyone have any questions? Let's see. Yes, dictionaries do not have eyes, Ronnie. I am aware. I just thought it's just, again, what history has gone around that dictionary, I think, is pretty extraordinary. Let me just keep scrolling just for a little bit. Lots of people saying that they're watching and liking, which we really appreciate. Just looking to see if I have any questions. Matt asks, where do the windows in President Reagan's office look out on? It's a great question. Which part of the grounds? We were going to have them open, but when they were open, it was sort of blinding out the camera. The presidential offices are situated on the south side of the on the west side of the Reagan Library, but the west side of the Reagan Library is actually called the South Lawn. I know it's kind of weird, and it's because there's a lawn grass area beneath me that's supposed to be a replica of the White House South Lawn. So that's why it's called the South Lawn, but it's actually the west side of the property. So if you were to look just outside my left, which is these windows, you're seeing our White House South Lawn replica, you are seeing the Berlin Wall, and you are seeing President Reagan's gravesite. And the views right out this go all the way out to the Channel Islands and the Pacific Ocean. It's quite beautiful. So that's where we're standing. That's a great question. Let me do a little bit more scrolling. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. Gigi is asking, how did he feel about the young people of America? There are so many speeches that I have seen where he talks about how the youth of America is our future, and that we as adults have to protect their freedoms, our freedoms to protect their freedoms, right? It goes back to the statement or the sentiment on the blanket, freedom's never more than one generation away from extinction. He wanted us as adults to take our American pride, to care for our freedom, and to hand that on to the next generation and to the youth. And here at the Reagan Library, at the Reagan Foundation, we focus most of our efforts on youth education and teaching youth about leadership and character and morality. And we think that follows in the footsteps of Ronald Reagan and something he would have liked. Let's see, just a couple more questions. Rob is asking if the president ever ate in his office. I actually don't know. He came up to the Reagan Library through about 1999. I started in 2001. I was never fortunate enough to meet him, which is a very sad thing for me. I like to assume that he did. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that, I mentioned that Ronald Reagan has his own office, Mrs. Reagan has his own office, and then they had a joint area for entertaining. I'm actually standing, you can't really see it, but I'm standing in the living room that they used to entertain, and then right behind me is a door. I think you can see the door, and the door leads to the dining room. Now that sounds a lot fancier than it really is. It's an empty square room. It holds 5 tables of 10 people each, and I know that President and Mrs. Reagan entertained in the 90s here. So if he didn't eat in his office, he at least most likely ate in the dining room behind me. While I was here, or am here in the 2000s, Mrs. Reagan would come up and would quite often entertain in the living room, tea and cookies, and then would entertain our guests in the dining room. Michael is asking if he had any famous guests in his private office. I'm sure he did, but again, I wasn't here, I'm not sure. But I know that Lech Walesa was here at the Reagan Library with Ronald Reagan on a tour. Margaret Thatcher was here with Ronald Reagan on a tour. So I'm sure they came up to his private office. But again, in the 2000s, when Mrs. Reagan was here, we had many, many guests up here that she would entertain, from Senator Ted Kennedy to President George W. Bush was up here. We've had, with Mrs. Reagan, celebrities like Tom Selleck and Tom Brokaw. So there's been a lot of famous people up here, both politicians and celebrity and members of the media. Let's see if there's any more questions I can answer. Gregory Thomas, great question, Gregory. I am a member and visit often. Any idea of possible reopening dates? We never thought when we closed in March of 2020 that 11 months later we'd still be closed. California coronavirus cases just have been skyrocketing, although from what I understand, they're finally on the decline. If you live in California, you know that we're on the colored tiering system and we're purple. To allow a museum to reopen at 25% capacity, we have to be in the red tier. Because the Reagan Library is also part of the National Archives and Records Administration, there's also additional things we have to meet, policies and procedures we have to meet on the government side to be able to reopen. But the first step is we have to be red, and we're still purple. So we have a long way to go for California to be red. I hope it's soon. I hope it's before the summer, but unfortunately, we just don't know. You're welcome to just keep checking our website, reaganfoundation.org. I promise, as soon as we know we can reopen, we'll announce it right there on the website. Thank you all for these questions. Let me just... Alejandro is asking if one of Ronald Reagan's presidential limousines is on display. It is in our Air Force One pavilion. In addition to showcasing President Reagan's Air Force One and President Johnson's Marine One, we have a sample of a presidential motorcade. And what I mean by sample is just smaller than a presidential motorcade would normally be. But it does include one of his actual presidential limousines. It includes one of his actual Secret Service Chase Suburbans, and that it includes a representative sample of 1980s police vehicles, LAPD police vehicles. So when we reopen and you come on out and you tour our pavilion, you will see that. Glenn's asking how he can visit the library or the ranch. Again, you can't visit the library right now. On our homepage at reaganfoundation.org, if you scroll sort of toward the bottom, we have a bunch of virtual tours you can tour through until we open. We are actually not associated with the ranch. You'd have to look up the Reagan Ranch on the internet to see how they're handling their visits. Maggie has a letter from the president. That's really cool. Rob's asking if the office is ever open for viewing. No, this is a private space. As I said in the beginning, we never even allow this to be open to the public. We never allow cameras in here. This was really special. I had to ask permission, but we just thought that since we've been closed for so long, it might be nice to kind of give you all a glimpse behind some of the private stuff that we have here at the Reagan Library. Marco Salinas, never before has his words and wisdom been more important as they are today. We absolutely agree. And with his birthday coming up, with us celebrating the 40th anniversary of his inauguration, we couldn't agree with you more. Stephen Wallach is asking if designers of other presidential libraries have ever sought advice from the Reagan Library. They have. We've had many meetings with the Obama Library team, and even when the George W. Bush Museum was opening and when the Nixon Library was renovating, we've had many meetings with the various teams of different libraries to talk about how we do things here. We're very fortunate. And thank you to all of you. We are the most visited, when we're open, most visited presidential library in the library system, on a normal year averaging 375,000 to 400,000 visitors a year. So we're so fortunate and are happy to talk with the other presidential libraries and answer any questions they may have to help them be as successful as we are. Let's maybe just answer one or two more. Angus, a great question, Angus. Are there actually people working in our gift shop for orders? Yes. Monday through Friday, people are there to answer the phones and to ship out orders. They're probably there about 10 to 5 on those days, but they're answering emails every day of the week. They're shipping out orders 5 days a week. So if you do call, if they don't answer the phone, they will return your call. They will answer your email. Orders go out every day. So as I was talking about the 4 items that we have in our store, you don't have to wait for us to reopen to get them. They'll go out now. Appreciate all these questions. We really do. Do we have the Cubs Letterman jacket he wore when he threw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field? You know, I actually don't know if we do or not. That's a great question. We can look into that for you and we can get back to you, answer you here on Facebook. David Lease, great question. I'll make this my last question. Any plans to exchange Johnson's Marine One with the one that Reagan flew in? Oh, and you're a docent. We hope to see you back here at some time. Yes, when the Reagan Pavilion opened, it was 2005. And when we were building it and had plans to build it, we knew that Reagan's Marine Ones were still being used. They were being used as Navy VIP transport vehicles. And so the white top of Marine One had been painted green. It was a completely green helicopter being used as Navy VIP transports. They were supposed to retire in 2010. So we had a deal with both the Johnson Library and with the Marines that lend out the helicopters, that when Ronald Reagan's became available, we would take Ronald Reagan's and we would donate the Johnson one to the Johnson Library. The Marine One that we have here is quite historic and quite extraordinary. It's the actual Marine One helicopter that President Johnson flew on for the first time as President of the United States following the assassination of JFK. So it's pretty historic helicopter that we have here. 2010 came up. We were getting ready to take on Ronald Reagan's helicopter, and this was during President Obama's administration, and there were a lot of military budget cuts, and Ronald Reagan's helicopters remained in service. So his helicopters are still flying, again, as Navy VIP transports. We had heard they might retire in 2020. That was last year, so we're still waiting news. So until such time, we're going to keep the helicopter that we have, but it is our absolute goal to bring an actual Ronald Reagan helicopter here and to donate the one we have to the Johnson Library. Thank you so much for joining us. If I did not answer your question, I will scroll through these when we're done and answer them directly into the Facebook page. We really appreciate you following us, watching us, sticking with us. And as I remind you all the time, if you don't already subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do, youtube.com/Reagan Foundation. You'll be notified every time we upload a new podcast. We do 4 a week, Words to Live By, a Reagan Forum, Thursday Throwback with President Reagan, and Monday Minute in the Archives. And just this month, we started a whole new podcast that will be monthly called Reagan and Friends. The first one dropped just a couple of days ago. And it's a really fun couple minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes of Ronald Reagan with some of his celebrity friends. Our first one was with Frank Sinatra. So thank you so much for joining us. We do hope we can reopen soon and bring you back and welcome you back with open arms. But until then, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
May all of you as Americans never forget your heroic origins. Never fail to seek divine guidance, and never lose your natural God-given optimism. And finally, my fellow Americans, may every dawn be a great new beginning for America, and every evening bring us closer to that shining city upon a hill.